Well, hello there. Good afternoon and welcome to The Pulse. We are coming to you live from our studios here in Accra. You can catch us on Digital Terrestrial TV because we are free to air on DSTV channel 421 and Go TV channel 144. This is Joy News, independent, fearless and credible journalism. Coming up this afternoon, it is time to outrightly ban the sale or lease of state lands. That's according to Nocturnal Member of Parliament Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, who is impugning underhand dealings in government's decision to de-gazette the Achimota Forest Reserve. We'll bring you some details on that shortly. Also this afternoon, search operation underway in Nkoranza South Municipality to re-arrest escapees who were freed from police custody by aggrieved youth of the area. We'll hear from the police service as it cautions the escapees to return for their own good.
4 police units in Accra, among others, are on the ground.
And this afternoon as well, we'll put a spotlight on healthcare as the ambulance workers in the country are making yet another strong case that the government provides them police escorts in the wake of robbery attacks on some of the emergency personnel.
On our hardworking colleagues, EMTs of the Zebila District Ambulance Office crew who were transporting a patient from Presbyterian Hospital, Boku, to Tamale Teaching Hospital.
Well, stay with us. We have all of the details for you here on The Pulse. I am blessed to The Pulse, as always, is brought to you by Global Communities Dignilu, affordable, safe sanitation. This afternoon, remember that we are streaming live on YouTube and all of our social media handles is at JoyNews on TV. Tweet at us with the hashtag The Pulse. My personal handle is at Blessed Sogah. Always a pleasure to host you here on The Pulse. Well, so this afternoon, a search operation is still underway in the Nkoranza South Municipality to re-arrest escapees who were freed by some aggrieved youth from Nkoranza. This, of course, was in line with clashes which broke out last Tuesday between police and the youth group who were demanding justice for Albert Donko, a 28-year-old man allegedly shot dead by the police. Events went from bad to worse after another 18-year-old was shot during the protest. Bono East Regional Minister Kweso Edujan has been speaking to me on measures being taken by the Regional Security Council.
The crash. And then after that, also had a meeting with the Traditional Council and met also with the Deputy IGP and his team who came from Accra to Tichima. So I'm just moving back to Tichima as we are speaking.
And I can imagine and tell from your voice that you're not happy or pleased about the events that have been unfolding over the past 48 hours, right?
Yes, it is a very sad event. Nobody expected this. We have tried to contain this since Friday, when it was bound to happen. But we contained it on Friday, Saturday, and even Sunday. Until yesterday, we don't know what got out of hand. But what I want to say is that
well, so we'll bring you much more details of that interview later on. But for now, we know that police in Nkoranza are appealing to escapees to return and report themselves to the police for protection. Here's Superintendent Alexander Obey.
Security situation. Additional reinforcement from 4 police units in Accra, among others, are on the ground, concentrating in protecting and securing vital state facilities including the votes on the downside, including our hospital, and also ensure that accesses to this area are also secure, i.e. the 4 exit and entry points, in and out to Kumasi, in and out to Kintampo, in and out to Azra, and in and out to Techima have been secured. 24 hours. Personnel are also deployed at various strategic police interest facilities. We would like to make an appeal to you in the interest of those who escaped from lawful custody. We will treat them in their own interest. Surrender, particularly those who were suspecting ourselves. Because no matter what, teams will look for. Finally, we want all of us to become whilst investigation continues to ensure that those who have perpetrated this criminality and these facilities are brought to support us in this direction.
Well, so let's speak to Achimota, who's been following this event for us. Achimota, so what more can you tell us about the situation in the community as we speak?
For Nkoranza now, the community is calm, and I can see, peace has returned to the community, just that among the people, they are not happy with the fact that the 28-year-old man, they say, is innocent, was picked up from his home at Kasajan to the Nkoranza police station. And when the mom inquired, she was told she is being sent to Teshiman, and that was the end of this young man. So this is what has actually infuriated them. And few people that you meet on the streets, I can confirm to you that there are instances somebody will come to you, a woman, and when talking to you, she breaks down in tears. When you inquire from her whether the disease is a relative, she says no, just that he's somebody who has worked on her digital satellite decoder before. So these are the memories that the young man has left on the minds of the people of Nkoranza. And that is why the community, has been up in arms against the police.
And how about the escapees, persons who've been freed from police custody?
Yes, on Tuesday, remember I brought you a report which a young man who was actually in the police cells was among 6 of the fugitives who were freed by the angry youth. And he says if he had had that opportunity, he wants to report himself to, say, the municipal chief executive or any other person in authority to know that he is a law-abiding citizen. And so yesterday, the Director General in charge of Police and Public Affairs, Superintendent Alexander Obin, said they've arrested one of the 6 people, he being a murder suspect, and that the remaining 5 are being sought for. He sounded a word of caution, which came in the form of an appeal to them to return to the nearby police station or be arrested into lawful custody. So for now, the police say they want to embark on intelligence-led operations that could lead to the arrest of the inmates who were freed from the Nkoranza police cells. But as it stands now, there's little information on what exactly they will be doing, though they said it will be intelligence-led. And there's nothing, it is not clear, for instance, how many of them police have been able to capture in this regard. But we continue to ask police for further clarification and further details. But as it stands now, what it means is that 5 of the inmates who were in the Nkoranza police cells are yet to be re-arrested.
All right, then. Achimota, we'll have to leave it here, but definitely we'll bring some updates later on. I'm grateful for your time. Let's focus on some other developing issues that we've been taking a look at here on the Pulse for you. We are also focusing definitely on the Achimota Forest and the reserve, the decision by government to de-gazette the area as a forest reserve. It's beginning to draw a lot of reactions, including some persons who are in Parliament, MPs, complaining about the decision of government. Well, one of the MPs is the North Tongue Member of Parliament, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, who's written extensively about the government decision. We can bring you, obviously, what you see on the screens now as some of the excerpts of what he's been talking about with regard to the decision to actually de-gazette the area. We'll get that for you shortly, but fortunately he's joining us via Zoom right now, so we can have a conversation on this. Thank you so much, sir, for your time. So, first of all, you are asking that government goes ahead to do a comprehensive review where we have laws banning the outright sale or lease of state lands. What do you exactly mean by the points that you were raising earlier?
Well, thank you very much. Good afternoon to you and to all your distinguished viewers. I honestly take the view that 14 years on after the Honorable Dr. Edward Omane-Boama and myself went to the Supreme Court seeking to stop the Honorable Jacob Echevilampe, may he rest in peace, seeking to stop the purchase of his bungalow. You will recall that the Supreme Court commended us for our efforts, but unfortunately gave the Honorable Echevilampe the green light to go ahead. So the Honorable Echevilampe had argued that he will convert the bungalow into apartment buildings and will rent it out. 14 years down the lane, that has not happened. It has not served the public good. And as I reflect on the latest development regarding the Achimota Forest, and I look at all the other schemes that have been rolled out by many governments purporting to return land to original owners, you will realize that often those so-called returning schemes and sales are not transparent. And that if you really look closely, you will notice that public officials in the chain, the entire chain, from Lands Commission all the way to the very top, the ministerial level, are, beneficiaries eventually. So I take the view that if you look at the state of our development as a country, look, go to the civil service today, you have so many civil servants who have to be ferried from very, very far, distances to work. They don't have adequate supply of bungalows to them. You now have medical doctors who don't have, adequate supply of bungalows. They don't have duty posts, and they have to be ferried from very far afield. It's the same for other professionals, teachers, security personnel, and if you even consider the larger housing deficit, that we have as a country in millions, and then you look at our spatial planning. This is a country that we can't find land for hospitals. We can't find land these days to build schools, sporting facilities, recreation facilities. Our green belts are all going, so we are in such disarray, and it's even an existential threat. So if you have a situation like that, our forebears, had foresight. Even the colonial masters, who we often accuse that they came to plunder, they came to loot, even them, had cause to, buy these banks of land, what we call land banks, and preserve them over decades. Why do we have a situation where the current crop of leaders don't seem to be adding to these land banks? They are not even protecting what we have left, the little we have left. But the depletion continues unabated. That is why I am recommending in this latest article of mine that we need an outright ban on the sale, the lease of state lands, and then we must also ban outrightly this business of purporting to be returning the lands to the original owners. Check throughout our recent history, this Fourth Republic, whether the lands really went to the original owners and who ended up being the beneficiary. So, look, it's so murky, and I think that it's even immoral to be a public officer. You are trustee. You are holding all of these state assets in trust. You cannot be selling it, and particularly selling it to yourself, as we were fighting, at the Supreme Court 14 years ago. So I really take the view that the time has come for an outright ban. Let's preserve the little land banks. Indeed, the land minister should immediately publish what we have left. And when the House resumes, this is a course that some of us will be pursuing vigorously. We want a full list of what we have left. The last time we asked the minister in Parliament to tell us how much of state lands have been, disposed of since 2017. He said they didn't have the record because we have new regimes and the Lands Commission is going through, a phase to, as it were, set up offices in other regions, and so they could not tell us. I found that really, untenable, but that's what he told us in Parliament. We need to pursue that matter further. We need to have a full publication of what is left, and let's preserve it. Look, we need land banks. We need to protect our green belts. We need to ensure that we have adequate land for planning. Already we are struggling. You heard the president himself state during the State of the Nation address that they are struggling to secure land for Agenda 111. I was in Parliament when the president said that. So how is it that we have a situation where when it's time for national development, national projects, important, projects that we need, as a country to thrive, to develop, we cannot find land. And yet, every now and then, you hear of land sales, you hear of so-called allodia owners being given, land that the state claims that it no longer has use for them. It's a very suspicious, arrangement. The time has come for us to end it and end it once and for all.
Well, interesting submissions you're making there, and in fact there's a need for us to probe further some of the issues that you've been raising in your article as well. We have that on the screens right now. There's the second leg of the issues that you've been raising, talking about the fact that you have sufficient evidence pointing to the fact that some persons within government are actually planning to take advantage of government's decision to sell or to return the land back to its original owners. Are you able to explain the exact point you're trying to make in that article?
If you read my article carefully, and it is a non-partisan article, I'm saying that over the years, there is ample evidence that any time that we have had this return of land to the allodia owners, go back there after a few years, and you will see that public officials right in the chain, from the Lands Commission all the way to the top, including their cronies and associates, the politicians of that era and the civil servants, the public servants of that era. How is it that they come to own the land that we say that we were returning? And you can talk to. I have done extensive research. I researched on this matter extensively when I had to face off with Jacob Echevilamte 14 years ago at the Supreme Court when I sought to prevent him from buying his bungalow. I argued that if his predecessors had done that, if our forebears were doing that, buying their bungalows, would any be left for current leaders? And I still hold that view, that it is totally immoral, it's unethical for public officials who are holding these assets in trust, presidents, ministers, people at the Lands Commission, to be benefiting from these sales. And when even they claim to be returning the lands to alluvial owners, see what happens a few months thereafter. Look,
so this is purely speculation, right?
I'm not speculating. I'm talking about what has become the case. Look, you can go to the Nungwa lands when the Nungwa lands were returned in the late 1990s to the early 2000s. Just go there and find out what has happened. Who are those who own it? Who own large tracts of those lands? Obojo is another example. The civil aviation land, the Lawale. You can go and do your work and find out who have put up.
Yeah, but Samuel the point is, if you know these persons, why are you not putting out the names to help the state, at least so Ghanaians will be aware, and then we could fight that process together? Why not putting out the names?
So, first of all, this is a piece to raise awareness and to fundamentally advocate for a ban. We must put on hold, and I want even a permanent hold on this practice of selling state land. Look, all these lands were acquired for good reason. And
yes, but I'm asking a question about why you're not putting out the names.
Look, it is a process. It's a process. And you know that I'm not one to be timid. 14 years ago, when I didn't even come into public office, I went to the Supreme Court with somebody who I was determined to stop, from buying his bungalow. So it is a process. Don't worry at all. This is the first state to raise the matter, and it's a non-partisan advocacy. And I'm not trying to suggest that any party should be absorbed or whatever. This is a national matter. And I think that, look, it gets to a time that we must discuss matters dispassionately, devoid of the cheap partisanship. We should look at what is in the national interest. It's about our survival. We face an existential threat, apart from, all the environmental concerns that have been raised. If you look at how spatial planning, how we cannot develop, transportation is in the mess, healthcare, education, because all our land banks, which we should have protected, we are selling them for cheap under opaque circumstances. So let's put all of these practices hold. Let's have an outright ban. That's where I really want us to focus.
All right, then.
I want us to focus on salvaging the little we have left for now. That is the emergency thing that is required for us. And then later on, we can do a postmortem and see across regimes those who may have benefited. And if we want to retrieve those lands from them, I will be one to support such an exercise.
I'm grateful for your time. That's the Northern Member of Parliament, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, Elvis Opon that speaks for a coalition of some 13 groups who are equally adding their voice on this matter. They want government to rescind the EI, which is giving way for a portion of the forest reserve to be giving out. Elvis, thank you for joining us. So you had the Northern MP. His solution to all of this is that we need to outrightly ban the sale of state lands. What's your take on that?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the opportunity given. Let me take this opportunity to greet your valuable listeners. Also, definitely, I think I agree with him that I think as a state, we need to take stock of our land banks and come out with a proper guidelines and policies on how we deal with state lands. I think I agree with his proposal.
But for your group, you are equally for now. For now, you are asking that the EI be revoked. On what grounds are you making such a case?
Also, basically on two grounds. The first one is it's not by chance that we decided to create Achimota Forest. We created Achimota Forest based upon some circumstances, and we believe those circumstances still are relevant. Achimota Forest actually is the only green belt that we have in Greater Accra, and it plays a very important role in Accra here. One, Accra is a very polluted area. We have a lot of industry. We have a lot of cars that pollute the atmosphere. Achimota Forest happens to be the only belt that we have over here that absorbs the carbon. Let me use this one as an example for people to understand what it means. When you go to Western region and Eastern region where they have a lot of forest, you can feel the air breeze over there. You see that it's very refreshing. But when you come to Accra, you can see the difference. It's because of the pollution within Greater Accra. Achimota Forest happens to be the only green belt that tries to absorb this carbon to reduce the health risks. Currently, we are experiencing some pollution, but if we try to touch Achimota Forest, the consequence is going to be worse than what we are experiencing now. So that's the environmental part. The second bit is also looking at that what the president is doing is going to have an implication in forest management in Ghana. For instance, when you look at Achimota Forest, there are two ways that the forest was acquired. In 1921, government acquired the land and paid compensation. And in 1927, government acquired and did not pay compensation. When you look at maybe a forest reserve like Moli National Park or Hui Forest Reserve, there are forest reserve where government acquired those forest reserve and paid compensation. So the land belongs to the state and the state manages the land. When you go to other forest reserve like the Free Forest Reserve, the Small Forest Reserve, which is made up of about 90% of our forest reserve, government acquires such a land, don't pay compensation, but manage those type of land for the people. In Achimota Forest, we have these two scenarios. We have portion of the land where government have paid compensation. We have portion of the land where government have not paid compensation. Now the case is, the portion that government have not paid compensation, the landowners are demanding. The landowners start demanding that those lands should be released to them. And because those lands have been encroached. The point we are trying to make here is that we have similar situation in the various forest reserve, where government have equal no pay compensation and managing the land for the people. And it's legally allowed. That's how most of our forest reserve arrangement is. If government goes ahead to de-gazette the Achimota portion of the forest reserve, we are opening the floodgate for other chiefs and their subject to also demand that their portion of forest reserve should be gazetted. And we all know the chaos that we are going to create. We are talking about more than 200 forest reserves which are in the same circumstance. So for us, we think the decision that the president is taking is going to create a very chaos in forest management in Ghana. So this is the reason why we are asking the president to reconsider his decision.
Earl I'm grateful for your time. Earlier today, Deputy Lands Minister and the CEO for the Forestry Commission visited the reserve to enable the media actually have full access and appreciation of the state of that facility. The two leaders actually have been speaking to JoyNews at the reserve.
Right in the middle of the Achimota Forest, you know, we started from the headquarters. We went through where we have the nursery. We came to the areas that we developed in 2017, planting trees, and then we are, this area was planted in 2017, where we've made deliberate effort to plant trees in the forest. So you can see them yourself, what we have been doing here. We have the youth in afforestation workers working here to plant trees. Virtually the most part of the Achimota Forest, is made up of shrubs. And then since 2017, we have been planting trees here. You can see the way the trees are arranged in an array. It means that there was, they were planted, they didn't grow themselves.
So for the one we saw, someone was asking, does it go throughout, or it just gets where?
It goes throughout to the end. And as we move along, you see the other lanes.
I am happy today. I've heard the Obu family on their own have even issued out a statement. Yes, we should understand when government takes land from a particular Alodia owner or families, and over years government does not pay compensation. Yes, then you and I know that is not lawful. And because the Constitution states that compensation must be prompt, adequate, and then also timely. So once that is done, once that is the case, then the whole family, after several petitions and then also going through the necessary process, were right in demanding some compensation from all previous governments. Yes, we acted on previous concerns, previous reports by several committees that have been set up by previous government, and then to ensure that even if we are giving them the land, the right thing is done. The right thing is to ensure that if, let's say, we dig aside that portion that have been already returned to them, so that at least now they can have the full use and full benefit of it. But we just did not do that in isolation. But then we added the fact that they must ensure that whatever they do also will not disturb or affect the integrity of the existing adjoining forest.
So what
we
do
are
you
working through now for you to see the extent of the forest, for all Ghanaians to understand that there is no way we are going to give up this forest. Secondly, we do not intend to sell this forest as has been previously stated in the media. But then the government of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is ensuring that this forest is preserved, and what is left as the forest as we see now will be kept and then also intensified by reforesting it for future generations and for posterity. We'll be working, and then soon we will be entering the zoo. The zoo too have been brought here. There's no way where are we going to have the zoo? The zoo is going to be here. And there's the need for all this development to ensure that at least the ecology here is maintained. You've seen other trees over there. We have Onyina, that's a cyber tree, the one there that has also been introduced. This is also cyber. Yes, when we were kids, we used to call it in Kasenka.
And you're still with us here on The Pulse. When we return, we'll talk about the big gathering of African teachers, regulatory authorities who are meeting here in Ghana to chart a path for advancing education on the continent. It's all coming up right here on The Pulse. Please stay. Well, you're welcome back. Now, in the coming days, President Akufo-Addo and Education Minister Dr. Yao Seye-Duchum will headline what will be a gathering of African teaching regulatory authorities to chart a path for advancing education on the continent. It will be the first meeting since the outbreak of COVID-19 and since it disrupted education in many parts of the world. More importantly, they hope to agree on the harmonization of education systems for countries within the African Union. Well, it will be held from the 29th of May to the 2nd of June, right here in Accra. In studio to help us understand the objectives for this meeting is Dr. Christian Adai-Poku, Registrar of the National Teaching Council. It's such a pleasure to have you join us here on The Pulse. So let's talk about this upcoming program. Of what benefits really will it be to Ghana's educational system?
Thank you very much, Blessed. The program is the 9th International Conference of Africa Teacher Regulatory Authorities. And by teacher regulatory authorities, we are talking about the authorities that regulate the teaching profession across Africa. And we meet annually to take stock of teacher production, or what we call teacher development and deployment. If you look at the SDG 4C, it talks about globally being conscious. I mean, states consciously taking effort to make sure that teacher recruitment and deployment is sustained. And if you look at the UNESCO statistics that came out before the Sustainable Development in 2015, it stated clearly that the teacher gap globally is around 69 million, and about 21 million of that is in developing countries, especially in Africa.
Oh, so there's still a great divide. We're seeing more teachers up in the global north and less teachers down here. Is it because of the pay grade or perhaps the monetary returns that most of these teachers get?
A plethora of factors, but I think the major issue is that there's already a literacy gap between the North and South, and that also translates into the development and deployment of teachers. However, as you're also saying, remuneration also takes a major remuneration also takes a major part of this, because we have seen constantly attrition of teachers from developing countries to many other developed countries. And so that gap is already there, and we have to take steps to make sure that we close that gap. We talk about education globally, and we are talking about quality. And the number one measure of quality of education the world over is the quality of the teacher. If the teacher is not good, if he doesn't have it, he cannot give it. And so it's always important that we maintain certain standards. And the standards are set by the teacher regulatory authorities. And in Africa, if you look at the continental strategy for Africa, it says clearly that we must harmonize. So the way teachers are trained in Ghana must not be so much different from the way teachers are trained in Nigeria.
Okay, so what you're trying to do is to create a system that will become the standard for every African country. It's more or less like the continental free trade area, but it's not necessarily in trade. Yes, but you're doing this in education. That's the plan.
Yes, and if you look at it, we have developed a lot of frameworks to make sure that we harmonize the teacher training system across the country.
How feasible would that be, particularly when we know that there are challenges varied, and the degree of challenges vary from country to country? So perhaps right here in Ghana, our challenge may not necessarily be with access. Some other country may have a challenge in terms of access or even training more and more teachers. So how is that going to be implemented?
So we always look at the comparative advantage. For example, if you come to Ghana, even though we are talking about a damning statistics of teacher gap, that's not what is happening in Ghana as of now. Because there are so many people who have been trained as teachers, not yet absorbed into the system. But if you go to other countries like Nigeria and many others, they still have that huge gap. However, what's important is that, like the licensure we are doing in Ghana, you go to Nigeria, it's being done. You go to many other countries, you go to Zambia, you go to South Africa, similar things are being done. And that is what we are trying to do, harmonize the system, get a harmonized platform where a teacher moving from Ghana to Nigeria to teach will have almost the same standards. Going to South Africa, going to Ethiopia, Kenya, anywhere, will have the same standards. And so we meet annually, take stock of the progress we've made, challenges that we are encountering, and how we will deal with them. And I must say that the regulatory body, AFTRA, is also the lead agency in the implementation of AU's Agenda 2063. Yes, the Africa we want. The education aspect, we call something CESA. The CESA is led by AFTRA and Education International. And they are supposed to advise AU on how to implement this, make sure that we get the right quality of teachers to be in the system to teach our children for us. So every year when we meet by the end of this month, that is from 30th to 1st of June, we will have ministerial session where ministers of education will meet, discuss issues, take stock of teacher issues across the continent, and then advise. They will issue a communique on that. Then the technocrats, the educationists, teachers across the divide, apart from the teachers, the regulators and so on, will also be there. A number of research work that has taken place
over
across, all will be discussed there. And then, at the end of it all, we should be able to come out with something that will help forge ahead.
So will there be immediate benefits to teachers here in Ghana, particularly on the issue of harmonization? Because some teachers may prefer to teach elsewhere, not necessarily Ghana, but still on the African continent. Are you having that vision? Is that the target of the protocol and the framework that you're developing?
Yes, that is the target. And my own minister, Honorable Edichum, has been talking about it, that we need to have that reciprocity agreement among the African countries, such that a teacher from Ghana who is licensed going to any other part of the continent to teach will not have to go through another rigor of being selected because you meet the standards already. Right. So we have continental qualification framework, we have continental teacher qualification framework that everybody must go by. And if we are going by them and then we stick to them, then teachers will not have any problem migrating from here to any other part. It will ease mobility for teachers to any other part of the continent to practice teaching.
And what we also know is that this is the first time the meeting is happening post-COVID. So COVID-19 and its impact on education will feature prominently. Here in Ghana, what can you say about the impact really on the teaching field?
I think the other countries will have a lot to learn from Ghana because Ghana was one of the lead countries in terms of trying to open schools at the peak of COVID-19,
so yes.
A lot of people postmotize the whole thing and see how moving forward, being encountered with such difficulties or challenges, we will all be able to deal with it because we have all been able to get almost out of the woods as far as COVID is concerned, but it has left it in trail a lot of challenges for us. We should be able to discuss and see how we will deal with the challenges, the learning gap that has been established because of COVID and so on. We should be able to deal with all these during the discussions, come out with some suggestions that will help the various countries to be able to deal with it.
I guess one of them would have to be about equipping teachers to be abreast with some of these technological advancements. We got to a time where almost every lesson was done online, particularly for the higher level of education. But at the basic school, it became a challenge for even some children and all of that, and even the teachers as well, trying to adjust to the new system. Do you believe that that's one thing that you have to focus on really, and try and find some ways on
it's really going to future because Africa tried to leverage IT during COVID time to teach, deliver lessons to children and so on. But it came out prominently that because of the digital divide, access to online trainings and so on, teaching and so on, became very difficult for children at the lower level of economic income and so on. So it's important that as a nation we discuss this further and see how we can integrate IT into teaching and learning, but also making sure that we don't overuse it, because if you overuse it, you widen the divide. People who do not have access to internet and so on may continue to suffer. So we will integrate. While integrating, make sure that you don't create too much division where the haves will continue to have more and the have-nots will continue to suffer. So these are interesting things that will come up during because a lot of studies have been done on COVID and its impact on education and its impact on teaching. IT is taking a lot of jobs globally. But what about the teacher? Is technology going to take our job from us? Because there have been experiments in the system where people do construct learning, put it on a tablet, and then
just roll
out, and then. But we want to find out such cases that have occurred. How have they helped children, especially those in below the poverty line, and then see if it's something that we can integrate into the system, minimize the number of in-person engagement with kids and so on. These are all interesting things that will happen, and at the end of it all, interesting outcomes that the conference will generate.
Yeah, but even before that conference takes off, I'm sure that at the Teaching Council, you're still putting in place some more measures just to enhance the quality of teaching across the country. Are there some of these few measures that you can share with us?
Yes, even IT enhancement. NTC, National Teaching Council, has a learning platform. It's an online learning platform that teachers go there to learn a lot of things, how they can apply technology in their teaching. Because the way the world is moving, if you don't apply technology to teaching, you will be lagging behind. You will not be helping the kids, because the kids that you face now, you give them the phone, they know what to do with it. So you, as a teacher, if you are not well versed in IT, then you are not helping the kids, because this is their time. They are born into the system. We have been migrated into it. So we have to take extra effort to be able to match up. So NTC is taking concrete steps in that direction. Besides that, you know, the government of Ghana has also given out one teacher, one laptop
policy,
to support teachers to be able to apply technology in their teaching and learning. So these are some of the things we are doing. We are encouraging continuous professional development across. In those days when we were teachers, sometimes somebody can be in the classroom for 10, 15 years and will not have a single refresher training and will be there. So the notes that he got from the university 10 years ago, which might be obsolete now, will be the one that he will still be imparting. But things are changing now. Teachers are taking continuous professional development more seriously, and they are making sure that they are abreast of time.
Right. Doc, I want to say thank you for joining us here on the Pulse.
I'm so pleased to be here.
Right. And we know that basic schools in the Northeastern Regional Capital, Nalerigo, and across the East Mamprosi municipality are facing some severe difficulties in their quest to benefit from the state policy of free compulsory universal basic education. Now, the schools across the municipality lack basic facilities and resources such as classrooms, desks, books, as well as some trained teachers needed for the provision of quality education. Most of the children, especially those at the kindergarten and primary levels, are either learning under trees or in some partially damaged buildings with no desk or no lesson materials at all. JoyNews' regional correspondent Elias Otanko visited some of the schools and now reports.
This is Nasheriga Primary School in the capital town of the Northeast region. One of the many public schools established years ago and named after a former king of Mampurugu. Like most of the schools in this area, the Nasheriga Primary School has never undergone any renovation works despite the increasing enrollment recorded over the past years. Now the building is old and the classrooms are inadequate, but with no action from authorities, the school children are forced to learn in harsh conditions.
We have no desk. All the chairs are broken and we sit in the sun and on the floor to read our books.
During a visit to the school, it was observed that most of the classroom had no desks and the children, especially those in kindergarten and lower primary, had to sit on the floor or lie on their bellies to study. In one of the classrooms, the children were studying in the scorching sun because a part of the roofing was yet to be fixed after it was ripped off many months ago by a rainstorm. Teachers at the school who spoke off record said the situation was hampering the provision of quality education and discouraging parents from enrolling their children. The peoples on their part are pleading with the authorities to come to their aid.
The roofing is destroyed, and because of that, we are studying under the sun. This is difficult for us to learn in this school. Our uniforms and books always get dirty because we have no chairs and have to lie on the floor to write.
At Nabongo Primary School, a similar dilemma was observed. The classrooms are unfriendly and the pupils also lay on their bellies for academic activities. Teachers had no textbooks and other teaching materials to teach the children in this school. Aside from the widespread challenge of inadequate furniture for both teachers and pupils, several school buildings in the municipality require some form of rehabilitation, while others require total demolition and reconstruction, such as the Nalerigo MA Primary School constructed in the post-colonial era. This school building, after many years of neglect, has become almost like a death trap. At the lower primary of the school, the classrooms are in deplorable conditions with deep cracks, dirty floors, and weak walls with no furniture, and children have to sit on bricks and stones to take lessons. One teacher who spoke anonymously to JoyNews likened the school building to a playground for domestic animals or their pen.
The classroom is too dark and there are no desks. Our school uniforms are always dirty because we have no furniture.
Although there is a new building for the school's upper primary children, the children have no desks and have to sit on the floor and on the windows of the building to learn.
Tija te vuni, te vura mate nema da anne, ti kunna te dala chiwa bioka zampiare te nema ma.
We are appealing for desks because we have no desk. We cannot write and study. Our teachers too have no furniture. The problem is affecting our teachers and us.
Several teachers who spoke to Joy News expressed concerns over the situation, which they blame for the continued poor performance of the children in the basic education certificate examination. They therefore want measures to be expedited to reverse the trend. Authorities at the East Mamprisi Municipal Directorate of the Ghana Education Service were not available to comment as attempts were unsuccessful. From Nalirgu, Elias Sutanku, reporting for Joy News.
Baby mamas feed on gas.
And now ambulance workers in the country are requesting that their government provides them police escorts. It follows recent robbery attacks on some of them under the name Emergency Medical Technologies Association of Ghana, MTAC. The groups are making the call after the recent Zebila District Ambulance Office attack, in which a crew transporting a patient from the Presbyterian Hospital at Boku to Tamale Teaching Hospital was shot by some armed robbers. According to the association's president, Michael Ghani, the gang physically assaulted the crew and threatened to kill them. The association is worried because 13 attacks have been reported, with one member dead, but no arrests have been made. There's more in the following report.
During the Zebila District Ambulance Office attack on May 11th this year, the Emergency Medical Technologies Association of Ghana, MTAG, is seeking that the government provides police escort in their line of duty. At a press briefing here in Accra, the group said about 13 attacks have been reported, but authorities have expressed little seriousness towards the matter. Michael Ghani is the president of the association.
The very recent attack on our hardworking colleagues, EMTs, of the Zebila District Ambulance Office crew, who were transporting a patient from Presbyterian Hospital, Boku, to Tamale Teaching Hospital on the 11th of this May. There are about 13 documented incident attacks to date. In this instance, we lost one precious life. We suggest for a policy initiative to ensure a collaboration between the National Ambulance Service and the Ghana Police Service to provide police escort for ambulances.
The group also appeals for the approval of its proposed risk allowance and full disclosure of a patient's medical issues as it discusses the dangers of the job.
We therefore want to appeal to all health facilities to be fair with us about patients' conditions and disclosed every bit of information to us. The approval of the proposed risk allowance for EMT.
Deputy General Secretary of the Health Services Workers Union, Patricia Cheneboa, called for investigations into the incident and for perpetrators to be brought to book.
We are also, by this statement, calling on the government to investigate the matter to bring the culprits to book.
Some workers also talked about the difficulties they face while trying to save lives.
How we felt about it is very bad. Sometimes when we are on night duties and they even dispatch, we are scared to go.
Quite recently, my team experienced one in Dodoa, where my team was dispatched to Dodoa Hospital to transport a patient who was in a respiratory arrest.
Like few minutes after we get in there, the woman passed on. The families of the woman just attacked the ambulance.
The association is further making an appeal to the general public to cease attacks on its members. Efwa Aprekuwa Boafo's report read to you.
Well, joining us now is Edward Kofi Agbamafle, and of course he is the principal advanced EMT, doubles as the Greater Accra Deputy Regional Chair of the group, and also Isaac Pambe's of course, also a principal EMT, doubles as the Greater Accra Regional PRO. Both gentlemen are joining us now. Thank you all for your time. So, Issa, let me start off with you. We heard of the concerns that you raised during the press conference. Has anything changed ever since the last engagement with the media?
Thank you very much, and thanks to your listeners and viewers. So far, nothing has changed, probably because that was held last, was it on Monday? Yes. So we are looking forward with the hopes that things will change, because we organized a press conference because we wanted a change.
Right. Yes. But you raised some concerns about how increasingly your members are being attacked. How bad is the situation?
It's very bad. We numbered about 13. That was the official ones, excluding the minor ones that happened within the villages. The major incidences we tabled was about 13, with the recent one being the Zebila ambulance attack. It's been very rampant. If you check on our records, within 2021 to 2022, you can see it's increasing. Yes, so in fact, it's a concern.
Yeah, but I guess the question now is, paint a picture to us, how crucial will the escorts, the use of escorts, change your situation? Because you're also making that claim about escorts.
Yes, we are hopeful that if we should be giving the escort, as our president alluded to the other time, you realize that especially when we are responding to unstable environment, for instance, attending to victims of victims that are actually as a result of responding to issues with regards to unstable environment, for instance, armed robbery or armed robbers who have been shot and needed to respond to. Realize that when you have these escorts with us, at least to some extent, we know that to some extent, okay, we have, to some extent, we realize that our peace, our security of our members is assured, in that should their colleagues attack the vehicle, we know that the police is on the scene to respond to that with us.
But are there any personal experiences that you've had?
Yes, personally, I started this work in the Upper West region.
Right.
So I quite recall we were responding to a call, and we had to travel all the way from Wa Regional Hospital to Kumasi, how do you call it, G. Yeah. And then somewhere in between, we were not actually attacked. I realized that the vehicles in front of us, all right, they stopped and some were reversing. And then we were informed that there was an armed robbery attack ahead. So we needed to turn and then go back and report to the nearest police. And fortunately for us, we had an escort throughout that period. So we got to a safer ground, and then they let us continue the journey. So truly, we need this police escort. But having said that, our own, how do you call it, conditions of service are also at stake. Because as emergency medical technologists, realize on a daily basis, all right, we leave home and then not knowing where the calls will come from and where the calls will lead us. But at times you may start in your region and then end in a different region, or in the name of what? Ensuring that your clients get to the best hospital care and all that. And then, having been exposed to all these risks, one will ask, so what is in there for we, the EMTs? Because obviously with this hardship around and all that, all right, we should also be in a position to take care of our families and ourselves. Okay, we need that mindset to be able to give that care that is needed to our patient. That's why in line of this, our president made this point clear that our condition of service also needs to be looked at.
We'll talk about the conditions of service shortly, but Issa, you also have an experience to share?
Yes, I have an experience. Okay. Quite recently, within this month of May, I am residing in Dodowa. Okay. I work in Dodowa. I was at home on that fateful day when my district ambulance commander, in the person of advanced EMT Muhammad Zakaria, called me that our ambulance is under attack with the personnel at the Dodowa District Hospital. So quickly I rushed there, only to meet a group of people, numbering over 50. Whoa. Then I asked, what is happening? What's going on here? I was told they picked a patient who Dodua Hospital was referring to Rich Hospital. In less than a kilometer, the patient passed on. So they will not understand why the patient should die. And for that matter, they called in the families, and in fact, it was a very chaotic situation. But thank God, our people were able to abandon the ambulance and took refuge elsewhere. So when I got there, I didn't even find them. I have to call them on phones before they came. In actual fact, we even called in the police. But unfortunately, or fortunately enough, we were able to solve the problem, calm the situation, took the ambulance, were even going out, and then we met.
So is that a similar case for the 13 others that we're talking about?
No, it wasn't a similar case. Ambulances being attacked by real armed robbery, opening gunfire on the ambulances. For instance, the Zibla one. If you go to see that ambulance now, there are bullets all over the ambulances. The Dambai ambulance was parked at the police headquarters here for a longer period with the bullets on the ambulances. So what we are talking of, somebody would sit somewhere and think we are joking. It is never a joke. Okay? When the first one happened, we didn't come out to the public. We made a report, an official report to the police. Well, we don't know where it ended. The second one, the third one, till the 13th one. There we realized that, no, if we don't take measures, one day, like it happened in Somanya, the late Abraham Homekutete, it will happen again. And we might not even know who next will be dying.
But is it just a coincidence? Some are arguing that perhaps your officers as well may be using the vehicles for something, I mean, some of the purposes that they are not supposed to be used for. We've seen videos, for instance, of some of your members transporting other items in the ambulance. So could it not be the case that some of your members are equally using the ambulances for a purpose that they are not supposed to use that for?
Yes,
I
would like to state on the record that there has never been a situation whereby an ambulance was used by any of the personnel for any other purpose.
But you've seen the videos. At least we have on record that the ambulance was used to carry some personal stuff belonging to someone. We've seen some circulating videos and footages on social media. You've seen that as well?
Yes, but the reality is that the ambulance used for that purpose, other than for patient care, all right, realize that the personnel manning the ambulance at that time were not personnel of the National Ambulance Service. At that time, the vehicle had gone somewhere for servicing. And then probably the technicians there, in their own wisdom, thought of doing something with the vehicle. But that didn't occur with the EMTs on board. So in National Ambulance Service, before we man the vehicle, usually we have a central dispatch unit, which calls go through. And then they in turn relate to the nearest or available station. Then with the requisite personnel, we respond to the case and manage our patient until we get to the definite care.
But I'm asking the question because could that not be the reason why you're not gaining the necessary recognition and respect from, and this should not just be the issue of the armed robbery attacks, but also some communities who are having challenges with the discharge of your duties and in the end attacking you, just like the Dodoa incident that we recorded.
Thank you. Let me come in. I don't know if you're talking about a cement incident that happened.
It's also part of it. That's also one of the footages that went viral.
Other than that footage, personally, I don't have any footage with regards to ambulance transporting any other thing. And with the cement issue, like my senior man said, it wasn't personnel of the National Ambulance Service. And that was made clear to the states that those who did that, the car was taken to a shop and the mechanics there or whoever decided to use the ambulance for his own benefit other than the purpose of the ambulance. So that National Ambulance Service or its personnel cannot be blamed for that. You understand? Putting that aside, like you said, the community. No, I have been in Dodoa for the past 12 years and we've been serving Dodoa and its environs. They are watching. If I'm lying to say we have been so dedicated and we love our job.
You do?
Yes, we do. But you see, my argument is that probably the kind of education that needs to go to the communities, okay, to the public has not gone down there. For instance, people still blend an ambulance with a hearse, which is very unfortunate.
Right. Okay.
You understand? So the knowledge and purpose of the ambulance is not well known by the people, which I think
it could be part of the challenge. But then beyond that as well, you're complaining about your conditions of service as well. Give us some explanations to the concerns that you raised during the press briefing.
Condition of service for we the EMTs. Realize the single spine salary structure was brought in place to take care of a whole lot of anomalies. So realize, for instance, with the health sector, all right, we EMTs are part of the health sector, and you realize that although it's a single spine, that's supposed to ensure that each category is pegged at a level. Realize when it comes to we the EMTs, there are disparities. For instance, you look at, let's say I'm a principal advanced EMT, and then let's say I'm supposed to be at level A, and then a different category of health personnel who is also at the principal level, all right, who's supposed to be at the same level with me. What is happening in reality is that they are ahead, although the same or similar qualification and experience and all that. I realize there are these disparities. So this is why we are calling on the CEO of Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, the minister, and then all stakeholders to help us.
To do what exactly? Lay them out for us, your exact demand.
To realign EMTs, all right, to realign us so that to be at par with our counterparts on the single spine salary structure. And then secondly also, you realize that secondly, you realize that our condition of service has been signed, all right, but then it has not been implemented. And then the reason being that when it comes to National Ambulance Service, we don't have any IGF, internally generated fund. And then per the MOU that was signed, the agencies are supposed to provide these allowances, which of course National Ambulance Service is not having. So what we are calling for is that we are pleading on the minister and then the government to resource National Ambulance Service so that they'll be in a position to provide us with these allowances, which has been agreed on paper in principle, but in reality, we EMTs are not enjoying. Right. For instance, we have our CPD allowance, Continuous Professional Development Allowance, which is not forthcoming, our 13th month allowance, which we should have received in December last year, as at now has not been paid. Right. And then it goes on and on, risk allowance.
Okay. All right, and we need to go. These are your final words as well.
Yes, thank you very much.
Briefly, as we wrap up.
Talking about the risk allowance is very crucial to us. Okay. When you look at the environment in which the emergency medical technologists work, the rates of risk, I don't even know how we're going to calculate it on a genuine ground. Look at the confinement of the ambulance. Right. If I'm transporting a tuberculosis patient, I'm at a risk of getting infested with tuberculosis if I don't take the proper precaution. If I'm transporting an STD patient, I'm at that risk. Whatever patient that I'm transporting, I'm at that risk, at that confinement. Okay? Putting that aside, you see the way the ambulances drive. It is not our pride to drive that way, but it is the agency. You are at a risk of crashing and getting yourself injured.
So that's why you want...
So in actual fact, we are appealing to the stakeholders, the government and authorities, that as a matter of agency, we need our risk to be taken care of.
All right, then.
For the risk in the service is very, very high. Yes.
Indeed. Gentlemen, I'm grateful that you've been able to join us. We are indeed awaiting government's response on this. But this afternoon here on The Pulse as well, we are focusing on the roads. Minister Kwiso Makwata, who has actually summoned the engineer who supervised the construction of a bridge in the in the Etija Kwabre North District of the Ashanti region, which carved in actually in recent days, and we do know that a lot has been going on in that area. The MP for the area, Collins Adumaku-Mensah, raised the issue with the roads minister, who traveled to the community to see at first hand how residents are affected by the situation. He also assured the chief for the area that a lot will be done to enhance the networks in the community.
And which engineer supervises this kind of dirty work? Which engineer? No, I'm not surprised of what has happened here. It was under whose supervision? No, let them cover it. Okay. Government cannot waste resources on such useless work. Which engineer supervises it? Which engineer?
That time it was the regional manager.
Which engineer supervises it? Tell me.
Mr. Dodo. Engineer Dodo.
What is he? Is he in the system?
He's in a half. So he's in a half now. Yes.
Invite him to report to me on Monday. Okay? Invite him to report to me in the office on Monday. If you are a supervising engineer, you know, and you compromise this. No, look at it's a running stream. You compromise the hydraulic capacity of this road. And it was not for nothing that this place used to have a Bailey Bridge. Okay? So even if you wanted to replace the Bailey Bridge, it should have been a concrete, you know, or boss covered, yes, of similar capacity. You know, I assure you that government is going to treat this, you know, as an emergency, you know, case, and the place will be reinstated as quickly as practical.
Well, so fortunately joining us now is Collins Adumaku-Mensah, the MP for the area. Thank you, Honourable, for your time. So, first of all, help us understand this. Do we know, are we clear in our minds now who the engineer of this project is?
Absolutely, and thank you for having me. When the minister arrived, and let me say thank you to the minister also for a very swift response to my request. Immediately I called him and indicated to him that we have a bridge that had been caved in. He quickly arranged, and within 2 days, he had visited the constituency or the district to have a first-hand view of the situation. During his interactions, he did instruct the regional director of feeder roads, who accompanied him on this trip, to summon the engineer on the project. We are told the engineer is currently working in Sunyani, and the minister has summoned him to come to his office in Accra on Monday at 10 a.m. He mentioned his name as Adom or so. I can get the full details for you. But what we are clear about is that the minister had instructed that the engineer who supervised the project should meet him in his office on Monday.
So how about the road network now? How are commuters able to handle the activities to and fro the area?
Well, fortunately, this particular road is not one of the major roads in the constituency. The main road in the constituency is the one that links from Ahimko all the way to Chichere. And in fact, this particular road came into being because at the time the main road was being constructed, there's an aspect of the road that a bridge had to be put on. So while the bridge was being constructed, what it meant was that people could not commute between the two towns from Ahimko to Chichere. So quickly we had to construct a new road, this particular road as we look at it now, that will link the community to Kumasi through Offenso. So the point is that although this particular bridge has caved in, it has not cut off people from going to Kumasi. The main road from linking the Kumasi to the main district is still available. And I can tell you that it's in very, very good shape. Indeed, when the minister came, he did indicate to us that government had decided to upgrade that particular road to an asphalted road. And so commuters or the indigents are not cut off from Kumasi. It's just that it's a convenient road because you could use that particular road to Offenso just within 10 minutes. What it means is that instead of going through that road, which has now caved in, you have to use the main road. That will take you about 25 minutes.
In the meantime, what measures are being put in place, at least to ensure safety?
So currently, the NADMO officials, in collaboration with the district, have mounted a closure of that particular road, because when we got there, some of the engineers did indicate that even where the places that have not caved in, it was not safe for people to even walk on. So in the meantime, that particular section of the road has been closed down.
Well, it appears that we're having some challenges there. We'll try as much as possible to reconnect the lines for you. Let's see if that will be better now. Honorable, we are missing you intermittently. You were talking about how, in the meantime, you're putting in some measures to ensure safety.
Yeah, in the meantime, the road, the bridge that has caved in has been closed. What it means is that commuters cannot move from Boaman, which is the district capital, and use that particular road to Kumasi. Fortunately, as I said, there's the major road that links the capital to Kumasi, which is the Boaman to Ahinkro all the way to Kumasi Road. Is in very good shape, and so commuters are not cut off from Kumasi. Just that for safety reasons, the bridge that has caved in, that particular road has been blocked for now.
And for your residents, I mean, your constituents as well, are you constantly in touch with them on this matter?
Absolutely. In fact, the bridge caved in just last week. It's just about 5 days. And within 5 days, we managed to convince the minister to come down to the constituency to have a first-hand look at the destruction. And so they are very, very excited about the swift response from myself and the district and the government. Of course, the minister came in the name of the government. So they are very, very happy with the swift response. We are just hoping, as the minister said, that he's going to treat this as an emergency. So what it means is that by Friday, which is tomorrow, and I will be going to the constituency myself tomorrow, the engineers from Kumasi will be coming to have an assessment of it, and then a decision will be taken as to what type of bridge should be constructed on that particular stretch.
Grateful. Thank you for your time. Now, we know that Ghana has had its share of tramadol abuse in recent times. The same can be said of cocaine, marijuana, and other hand drugs. Though these drug abusers are regularly caught, the means to test them can be time-consuming and a very tough exercise. Of course, we know that the Department of Medical Diagnosis at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology and, of course, some other experts are coming up with a test kit that can do just that. On Test Day, Love FM's Kwesi Debra speaks with some of the developers of this app.
The kit, known as 10-in-1 for drug abuse, can detect substances such as amphetamines, barbiturates, benzodiazepine, cocaine, and marijuana. The rest are morphine, opiates, tricyclic antidepressants, and tramadol. The scientists have developed a kit for alcohol too. Dr. Yao Amoyafe is head of medical diagnostics, KNUST.
And as a department, we came to realize that we have what it takes to be able to develop urine test kits that can help identify these drug abuses. We have decided that we then targeted the very common drugs that are abused and tailored our test kits to be able to identify them by a simple test strip, as is done with pregnancy tests and all that.
During testing, a urine sample is placed on the kit. A drug, if present in the urine, will react with the kit and produce a certain color. The colored line will not form in the test line region if the drug level is above its cutoff concentration. CEO of INCAS and lecturer at the department, Dr. Lord Anthony Basson, says in about 5 minutes results should be ready.
In this window, it's called a test and control window, you begin to see a rise, and as you can see from here, some of the fluids have started rising. And once, as you can see, it started rising. Once it rises, what you're going to see is, if it's 2 lines, it means that it is negative. If it is 1 line, it is positive. Except for tramadol. Tramadol, if it's 1 line, is negative. If it's if it's 2 lines, it's positive. But all of this is indicated in a form that accompanies it. So it's very easy to follow it and then be able to do it. So after you've done the test, after it begins to write, you put it down for just about 5 minutes, and it should be able to give you the results. So when you look here, that is the results that it gives you. So as I earlier indicated, if it is 2 lines, it means that it is negative. So because this is water and this is not urine from somebody we suspect to have it, or we expect everything to be negative. As you can see, for the nicotine, they are both negative. Because it's negative because there are 2 lines. Cocaine is negative, the benzodiazepines is negative, barbiturate is negative, and then the amphetamines as well negative. When you turn the other side, it's the same thing except for tramadol, which is 1 line. Again, as I already indicated, 1 line for tramadol means that it is negative. So all of this is negative, including tramadol.
Dr. Basson, however, says the positive results indicate presence of the drug, but does not indicate level of intoxication, administration route, or concentration level. Again, negative results may not necessarily indicate drug-free urine. Reporting for JoyNews, Kwesi Deborah.
And you're welcome back. Now, we know that next week, the School of Mines and Built Environment University of Energy and Natural Resources and the auspices of the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources will be organizing a 2-day transformational dialogue on artisanal and small-scale mining under the theme Enhancing Multi-Stakeholder Approaches towards addressing challenges with artisanal and small-scale mining and the institutional dynamics for sustainable practices here in Ghana. Well, fortunately, I've been joined by Dr. Wadud Momin, School of Mines and Built Environment, and also Raymond Kujao Defed is a lecturer, School of Mines and Built Environment, University of Energy and Natural Resources. So it's a good time to see all of you join us at this moment. But let me start off with you. Let's talk about this whole concept of bringing up the dialogue. What's necessitating the idea?
Well, thanks for that, and thank you for hosting us too. When you look around, we've had a problem with small-scale mining over the years now. And when you expand it, it's a global issue even across the continent of Africa. Research has said that 6 out of 10 Africans by 2050 will be involved or be impacted either positively or negatively by small-scale mining. And last year, we realized government took initiatives. We had national dialogues, we had regional dialogues. And so what next? Well, the distillate from those attempts by government after the communique, which they are working on, is what we have grabbed. And we studied that there are gaps, so we are trying to fill in those gaps. We want to bring in the academic infusion and let us have a bottom-up approach to finding a sustainable solution to the problems.
And Doc, a sustainable solution is what we've all been looking out for, particularly as we know that the mining sector itself has been fraught with a number of challenges. There are issues of illegal mining as well. So how crucial will this dialogue be to finding solutions and trying as much as possible to sanitize the system?
Thank you very much. And first of all, I bring to you greetings from the Vice Chancellor of the University of Energy and Natural Resources, Professor Elvis Asarabediaku. Yes, the transformational dialogue for small-scale mining seeks to actually establish, to build the bridges between stakeholders at all levels, governments, regulatory agencies, primary stakeholders like traditional leaders, and also the small-scale mining practitioners as well. What we seek to do is that over the years, there hasn't been any consistent platform for discussing and sharing of ideas and knowledge as to what have been done in the past and what have we to do presently and what do we seek to do in the future. So we seek to establish this platform that actually envisages knowledge sharing, all-inclusive development of ideas, and also harnessing the very important logistics that are required to actually establish a sustainable solution to most of the challenges. It's just like the Down Under conference, the Mining in Daba, which just took place in South Africa last week. We haven't had anything of that sort for the small-scale mining sector But the large-scale mining sector has these conferences where you have the practitioners and companies come to share ideas of their challenges and also their prospects. But there's none like that for the small-scale mining sector. Meanwhile, the small-scale mining sector is more closer to the local economy and the people in developing countries where it is mostly practiced.
Yeah.
You don't have a small-scale mining in developed countries.
But very often when these kinds of fora comes up, the argument is that, well, we're just talking about the problem. We are not necessarily solving the issue. What do you say to that, for instance?
So that has been the main issue. We haven't seen a lot of will, both social will and even political will. But the wave is a little different from last year. And so that's why we are coming in, that as you realize there's been nothing over the past few months about small-scale mining. So what happened to the dialogues? So our approach is to distill all that we found out from the dialogues and add our academic knowledge to it and open up the forum for the people who practice it along the spectrum to contribute. And then when we have solutions, we try to even look at it to make it an annual event and be improving upon it, because it's a hydra-headed issue.
So which means that even after the forum, you'll be practicalizing whatever it is that you distill from the engagements.
Exactly. And then what we are not able to do, we'll add up to next year's forum and do it. It's going to be an annual event.
So let's talk about who you're bringing on board and those who will be attending the event. Aside the minister already, we know that the minister, by extension, the ministry will also be involved in the process. Who else is going to be there? Yeah,
before I touch that, let me touch
on the point, yes, about it.
I remember I've been a member of the Africa-Australia Research Forum, and I've also been a member of the Africa Down Under Conference, usually held in Australia. Right. And one of those occasions, I remember someone asked that, why do you come to discuss issues about African mining in Australia? If you are discussing mining industry activities with regards to Africa, you should do that in Africa, not in Australia. So we are using the bottom-up approach, and we seek to involve the real actors on the ground as far as small-scale mining is concerned, not the professors, not the CEOs who come to most of these dialogues and conferences to deliver long speeches, written PowerPoints, and all those. No. This time we asked the practitioners of small-scale miners to come and tell their own story. So we want to supervise that and catalyze the efficiency and the good aspects of the industry so that the general public can buy into the good prospects of the industry and also motivate and encourage the practitioners on the grounds. And we hope to sustain it to be practitioners of responsible mining. And once we give them the motivation, then we will have good solutions coming in. And over the years, there has been, then the academia has been left out on these things. Now, back to the question.
Yes, about those who would be attending the event and joining you.
So we have invited His Excellency the Vice President, Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Maubien, and to come and talk about the government side of things, like you asked initially, what has been the outcome of the last year's dialogue and why are we coming again? They will be able to tell us, and the Honorable Minister himself will be there, the Minerals Commission will be there, the CEO of Minerals Commission and his entire team will be there. We have 2 panel discussions, and so I tell you, we would have no less a person like Koku Sechi Adu, who is the chairman of the Minerals Development Fund, chairing one of the panel discussions, and we will have people like the CEO of Minerals Commission, Martin Aisi. We will also have Honorable Dr. Kokofu from EPA, who will be a panelist. We will also have a rep from the Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners on the same platform. We will also have no less a person than the Vice Chancellor of the UMAT, University of Mines and Technology, also joining the same panel. So it is highly interactive. Precedent to the panel discussions, we have the small-scale miners giving presentations on their side of activities. Then we have also invited traditional rulers to join us. We have also invited even communities that are neighbors to activities of mining, small-scale mining, to join there. So we are not selective. We're inviting everybody, and we have invited the entire Joy FM.
Obviously.
Yes.
We need to be part of that. And once we're talking about the ministry as well, I'm sure that government policy would also be scrutinized, or at least some interventions in terms of community mining. And this big issue of galamsey would be on the table as well. In terms of academia and its perspective on all of this, are we likely to see some research work being put out there to tell us what the status is, and what are we to expect in that regard? Yes.
Okay, that you threw that to me. Yes, so that's why we have the School of Mines and Built Environment, and when it comes to the academia, we are going to run certain courses, programs in that line. We have urban mining and development, minerals, and also sustainable mining. So that package is different. That will come alongside to actually expose everybody who wants to practice best practices in the industry to follow up with. So yes, we want to fill in that gap, but along the academia side. Yes.
So it's something that you're really considering, trying to, is it develop programs or there are already programs there?
We have already developed programs,
okay,
we have clearance from the Ghana Teacher Education Commission to run this highly innovative mining program that seek to address issues currently developed in the mining industry, not only small-scale mining, including the large-scale mining as well. But with regards to whether there will be presentations,
some of these,
those are the things that we try to run away from. Given all the time, if you remember, most of these conferences, we have people who go to give research presentations. And if you take the circumstances and the environment of Africa, we have very little understanding of research results, findings in most of these places. Also considering the level of people who will be participating, how many of them understand. So what we seek to do is to bring out our proposals for managing and addressing issues on the small-scale mining in Galamsey.
I was asking the question because largely when the issue of illegal mining comes up, the claim is that, well, we've not seen so much support from academia and trying to proffer some solutions. So that's perhaps why I'm asking the question as to whether or not you are providing some alternative solutions to this big problem.
That is exactly what I'm telling you, that we have this proposal. For instance, we have a satellite receiver station which we seek to leverage on giving the needed support, which would give us real-time monitoring capacity of illegal mining activities, as well as even legal mining activities that trespass their threshold of responsibility. So we are able and we have the capacity to do that, but we need request support from both government, from the public, and even from the small-scale mining practitioners as well. So that is why I say we are not just going to give presentations, but we will try to let everyone understand at the program we have this capacity to contribute, and we want to practicalize it. I mean, make it more practicable than just a lip service.
Right, and I hope that your students will also not be left out.
They are not left out at all. Yeah.
There's some practical lessons they may be picking up from the forum that we're scheduled to.
Yes, unfortunately, because it's happening in the calendar and exams time, we normally have too many of them, but we have a few who will be attending. Yes.
We didn't actually envisage this coming before we come out with the program. It's because of the UTAC strike that has actually pushed our calendar forward. So we hope next year we wouldn't have it at the time students will be having.
So that I'm sure that they would have a playback just to learn from and pick up.
But some of them will definitely participate because they will not be having exams.
Definitely. So your final words to our viewers on this?
Yes, I encourage every Ghanaian to join us. We will be online. The program we held in Sunyani at Shiles Executive Lodge off the Sunyani Brekum Road, and it will also be live. They will also be live streaming. So we encourage everyone to join online. Those who cannot physically appear there, but those who can around and who have the opportunity to travel, it's better to be there in person so that you can have a real feel of the locality of Sunyani and also a real feel of the issues under the discussion.
All right then. I'm grateful, gentlemen, that you've been able to join us here on The Pulse Now. Showdown at Kaneshie Complex as AMA sanitation officials storm the meat and fish market. Months after the officials first visited the market, the vendors are yet to act on the recommendations, including repairing and actually replacing fly control nets, and which most of the workers do not have. Michael Achale has been reporting on that here on our campaign. Just watch this.
This is one of the city's largest meat and fish hubs. Located in the Kaneshie Market Complex, the market serves hundreds of customers each day. In the wake of the public concerns over food poisoning, the officials of the AMA are here to inspect the sanitary conditions of the place.
Footwear, everything is hung here. The footwear is used anywhere they find themselves. You got to hang the footwear to here.
Right on top of where they are cutting meat.
On top of where they cut the meat. You can imagine the degree of contamination they are putting on the food before it comes to the market. And we cannot sit to continue for these things to continue in this place.
Joseph Asitanga is the environmental health officer for the Okankwe South Submetro of the AMA. Together with his team, they inspect the health certificates of the vendors and workers and the sanitary conditions under which they prepare and preserve the meat. The officials have been here before, and once again, they have failed the inspection. The nets were dirty and some torn, making it easy for the flies to access their wards, and many of the vendors did not have a health certificate, a strict requirement of the law to operate such a business. So this time, Mr. Sitanga threatens to close down the place.
The last time we've been to this particular meat shop, I can tell you that it still remains the same condition as we came here, because they were being educated not to hang all their used clothing within the position where it is as at now. This is because of cross-contamination that we are trying to prevent. And we made them, the leadership, aware that we made them aware that the next visit will come, and then they don't change, and paint the place, and the place remain as it is. We are going to close this place. And I'm ready to close this place today. I'm arranging to ensure that this meat shop is closed until they meet the requirement and they will operate. And that is the order of the day. We are going to work with them because we are not going to compromise anything with anybody here. Not that we don't come here. Every time we visit here, we give them education as to how to handle this particular place. Just look at what is happening here. Chairman, just look at what is happening here. So is it wrong if we enforce the law to put the place off? I just want you to say yes or no. We do it at Tuesday Market. We do it at Makola Market. We do it at Nima Market. We do it at Malata Market and Agbogbolosi Market. Kanesi Market is not exempted. Kanesi Market is not above the other markets.
We plead with you so that we'll make it the next coming week.
Abdul Karim is the chair of the vendors.
That next coming week, I promise everything will be okay that if you come.
Everything will be okay. Give me the conditions of okayness, let me see.
It won't be there again. If the cleaning, that's the market responsibility, I'm sure they will take it.
But Chief Health Inspector of the facility, Paula Dele, disagrees with the conclusion of the AMA officials.
But I disagree. It is not everybody in this room who hadn't done the medical certificate. Some of them haven't done the medical certificate, but majority of them have done the health certificate. But if you say that the whole room is dirty, we have no clean, it's a dirty place, I ask you, the first time you enter here, the first thing would have embraced you would have been flies, would have been stench, would have been smell, would have been bad odor. But I tell you that we are all enjoying the fresh air in this room. The only thing I agree that we need to renovate the room. It is true, our netting are worn out, our fly proof are worn out, some of our tiles are no good. Yes, I agree. But to say entirely that the premises is absolutely dirty, I disagree.
Is the 1 week going to be enough for you?
The 1 week will certainly will not be enough. With regards to the renovation, 1 week will not be enough. But with the certification, I believe 1 week should be enough for the certification.
Although declared unfit to continue operating, some of the vendors think otherwise.
Our meat is clean. The whole Accra.
When you compare yourself, how would you mark yourself? On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you say you are?
100%. Not say, I'll give myself 100% neatness. The whole butchers in Accra, Kalish Market. We are neat than everybody. Yes.
And the other meat shop, what would you rate them?
On that one, that's what they rate them myself. I mean, they rate myself 100%.
After minutes of pleading, the inspectors gave the vendors up to a week to clean their surroundings as well as obtain their health certificate or risk closure.
The meat market, there are a lot of challenges there, and we have taken them through education and gave them a period, 1 week period, for them to tidy up the place for re-inspection to be carried out. And we made them to understand that non-compliance to the directive that we are asking them to do, it means that they will not allow them to sell meat in the areas of the market. Then we'll convey whatever challenges are in the market here to them for redress. When they don't comply, as well as we are taking the meat sellers on the market, management of the market will also be processed for court.
Well, guess what? Onga Cook Act is back. Join us as we tour 10 of the 16 regions of Ghana where 100 senior high schools battle it out for the supremacy of being the best culinary skills institution to make it to the 2022 GES National Onga Cook Act competition. The top 15 finalists will would actually compete for the ultimate crown every Friday and Saturday at 4 p.m. starting on the 20th of May 2022. Well, so let's look ahead to the next episodes now. In studio with us is Felix Apia. He is the GES project lead, Onga Cook Act, and also Gideon Kodo, PRO for Promasido. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. So let's start off with you and understand the whole rationale behind the Onga Cook Act. Just help us understand what's prompting this whole idea to engage schools at the that's senior high school level, right?
Yes, please.
Right. Tell us about it.
Basically, initially, we realized that there's a lot of influx of foreign food into our system, and then we wanted to promote one, our local cuisine, and then two, vocational education. So if you realize, the whole competition is about, what do we call it, practical, having the practical, and then the theory aspect of what they teach them in school. So we started by having some of the senior high schools competing against each other, so that we can have the best culinary schools in the country. Because most of the senior high schools that does home economics were not having a competition back then. So we wanted to just come up with an innovative idea, something new that will at least bring a competition among the vocational schools in the country.
So that's what birthed the idea,
yes,
and then Onga came on board, right? Yes. So yes, I know the Onga man is here to tell us more about it. Why did you decide to support this project, really?
Well, as a brand that is leading in the food season space, by starting with the senior high school students, that is something that comes as laudable, and also you should know that, like Felix said, there's a lot of influx of foreign cuisine, which really is not a problem, but we equally need to promote our local and indigenous meals, and that is when Onga always comes in. I mean, you can imagine a local dish that is being prepared without being seasoned with Onga. That's a problem, So we decided to come on board. We gave birth to the initiative of Onga Cook Act, and we are entering into the 4th season.
And you've been there ever since.
Yeah,
I guess that's why your mom is helping.
Mom is helping us. It's very important.
So you've been there since, looking at where you started from and where you are. What's the future looking like for?
Well, I mean, the future is to really expand this, and let's not miss the point about it. I know Multimedia today is in partnership with the Ghana Education Service, and I think Prime Time. You're pushing the national science and maths.
Yes.
You know, I want to tell you today that the Onga Cook Act show is actually going to grow and will be,
So you wanted to have that national appeal.
National appeal. You know, you cannot have a competition where you have a senior high school, and generally, like, there's always that nostalgic feeling and about memories about your senior high school. You cannot really have that and not grow it as a big show. I mean, the numbers have been impressive. The number of schools that we started with is really grown tremendously, and we're expecting the numbers to increase as time goes on, and the participation from the old students and the student and what have you has been very massive. So the future is big. It's a lot more packages that we are going to add to it, and we promise to make the competition very exciting and interesting.
We'll talk about what's in store very soon, but where are you deriving that fulfillment from?
Well, being able to see a 15-year-old, a 16-year-old or a 14-year-old prepare a dish that will have representative from the Ghana Chef Association give a standing ovation. If that is not joy, I'm not too sure where I can find that. So it's very fulfilling to see the students put what they learn in class into practice. And that is really what we want to see at the end of the day.
All right then. So for GES going forward, are you going to stick with the plan? Are you expanding to cover more schools then?
Yes, that's the idea. We want to expand the whole project. The whole project is just 4 years, and as Gideon said, we've seen a lot of improvements over the years, and this is good initiative. We can only improve it. So we are going to stick to it. We are going to improve it, make sure it grows to become what we envisage it will be in the future.
And you know that there's this perception that it's just for girls, right? No. But are we set to see some boys in the program as well?
There have been a lot of boys, right? Yes, because even the prelims, I think Accra had they have boys. Yeah, like boys are now having the interest in the culinary space because look at it. Our industry is being dominated by even the men are even better in the industry. Well, culinary is no more.
There are a lot of women out there who would have challenges.
It's true though, but you see, the men's cook. They're making more than even the women in their own space. So we encourage more men to go into that space. And it's not only the whole project is not just targeting the culinary. We are boxing everything together. We are going to have there's the classroom part of it, the entrepreneurship part of it, and there's also the future prospect part of it. You can just be you can do a lot when you go into culinary. It's not just about the kitchen alone.
Okay, then we need to go back. Gideon, how are you incorporating your brand into this so that people get to appreciate it more, particularly as we know that you are helping these young children at the senior high school level to also learn how to cook and appreciate the love for the culinary institutions as well. Yeah.
So I mean, we've been big on giving back to the society. Aside all the exciting things that comes with using onga and making sure that your food comes out and have that ongalicious taste. Yeah. We see this as a capacity building program to as well. And you know, just like Felix is saying, I mean the narrative about the catering space is really changing. Today you have the likes of Men's Cook, Food Bank, Fiona Foods, and some other catering companies who are doing tremendously when it comes to providing catering services. And for us, it's not just an issue of people using our products, but it's being able to develop the next generation of culinary experts who would be selling the country, the culture, the food culture of the country. Because we need to agree and admit that, look, Ghana has huge potential when it comes to tourism, and food is a significant part of it. And that is what we are seeing. The next 2, 5, 10 years to come, someone should be able to say, Kontumre le blah blah blah, you know, something. I mean,
and give it some like fine name,
you know,
and add a lot of cash to it.
Exactly, and you see that it's a blend of indigenous meal with a touch that would appeal to tourists in general, and really that's what we are looking forward to. So we believe strongly that the brand is supporting in the development of the individual Ghanaian student who's taking part.
Right, and there's a lot of teasing going on out there already as everyone is trying to, you know, promote their school. I hope your schools are also winning right now. Cool. I just hope so. A lot of schools are.
No, I'm talking about your school.
Well, Bishop Herman College. I don't know if they were involved in this, but I'm sure as you go on, you try and add them. Yes. We find
those boys are stubborn.
We were doing our own Gary, but that's fine. But I'm sure that the other schools as well will join in.
I mean, it's been a lot of enthusiasm and support from the old students, and you know, we were in Presec. And you should see how the Presecans came out to support the Ibri girls. That was last year, right?
Yeah, that was last year.
Last year, it was amazing. You know, the boys were there in their numbers.
Now I'm getting mad at you for that. But anyway, I'm sure that a lot more will come up. Be on the lookout for that. I'm grateful, gentlemen, that you've been able to join us here on The Pulse. And that's all we have for you in this package of The Pulse. My name is Blessed Sogah. Don't forget to log on to myjoyonline.com. We have updates for you there.